So let's talk about reading the tarot. One of the things we talked about is the fact that we have to carefully choose our environment. You need to find a place that is peaceful and tranquil and where you're able to focus and dial your consciousness in. You then go about setting a mood. Well, how do you set a mood? You can use music. Music is one of the best things. We're all using music all the time to influence our moods. When we're going to clean the house, we may put on dance music. Or when we're going to have a party, we put on a certain type of music. If we're feeling maudlin and weeping over an ex-lover, we may play another type of music. So music is one way to set a mood. Lighting. I mean, there's lighting, there's incense, there's thinking certain thoughts. Even certain clothes can set a mood for us. We talked about the fact that it's good to be able to clearly formulate a question. Why is this? Is that our unconscious mind is sort of working for us like a trained puppy. Well, we're doing the same with our subconscious mind when we're doing a reading. We're saying, fetch. Go get me this piece of information and bring it back to my conscious mind. So formulating the question helps for the subconscious to know where to go to get that information. Then we determine the spread. And the reason we do this is we're also informing the unconscious mind, would you please arrange the information in this pattern for me? Thank you very much. Then what you have to do is cultivate a strong desire for the truth. Because that helps the focus, and it helps to move one out of subjectivity to objectivity. And so one of the things that I do when I sit down to do a reading is oftentimes I'll have a sort of a moment of silent prayer before I shuffle and cut the cards, which is to be able to be an instrument of information for the person that I'm working with, and that information come through in a truthful and helpful way. And so that they can leave feeling benefited or feeling better than when they arrived. Then you set about increasing the electrification, and that just starts to come naturally over time, where you find that your breath deepens and becomes more rhythmic. Then you take up the process of shuffling and cutting. Shutting and cuffling the cards. And again, we do that in a pattern because it's part of creating a ritual. Again, it allows you to move into sort of a trance-like or semi-automatic state where the unconscious mind starts to go to work. You've come up with the question, you've set your mood, you've formulated the spread, and now you're going into that process where you're electrified, you're contacting the information, and you just shuffle and cut. And I always recommend in the beginning, especially when you're breaking in a deck, to do this repetitively. Cut it into 3 piles, turn them around, and somehow rearrange them. We want them constantly to be shifting within the deck because we know that reverse cards and cards that are right side up can have slightly different meanings, and that is very important, especially in the case of a yes or no spread. So we go through this process and we repeat that, and clearly you can see from these cards that they've been shuffled a lot over the years. You then lay the cards out in the spread, face down, and you turn them over one at a time, and you read each card separately. You focused in on the information in each card, then you go back and you create a story uniting each of the cards. There's also a ritual in the terms of how we handle or manage our cards. And this is something that's going to be different for everyone. But you need to keep in mind that tarot cards are a sensitive divinatory instrument. What this means is that they can pick up on vibrations and character vibrations as well as thought forms. So you might not want to leave them out on your coffee table. It might create a vibration of conflict around your cards. Between use, it's best to keep your cards in a wooden box. Now, Zane recommends white pine. However, you can choose something such as aromatic red cedar or any other wood based on some personal significance. It may have been the laurel tree that grew outside your grandma's house, or the box I have was made for me out of black walnut harvested off of somebody's farm. So those things can end up having some significance or added meaning. This is a red cedar box. This is a box very similar to the one I showed you, but it is of cherry wood. This is a white pine box that was made for me about 40 years ago by a friend who was also studying tarot at the same time I was. So boxes end up holding a type of meaning over time. The other thing is, Zane recommends that readers lay their cards out on a white pine panel. And again, having a board that you use specifically for your readings is useful if you live in a house where you can't have a table that's specifically dedicated for that purpose. Just having a board that you pull out to read on is useful. However, what I do is I always keep my cards wrapped in a silk scarf. And silk as a material has very low conductivity. What this means is that heat, cold, electromagnetism, and thought vibrations have a hard time passing through it. That's why persons who practice ceremonial magic oftentimes will create for themselves a cape out of silk, because it's used to protect them from the thought forms or entities they might work with. Here's a case. This is an image of cards that are kept in a silk pouch. So I keep cards in a wooden box, but wrapped in a silk pouch or wrapped in the silk scarf. So primarily, if I were to read on any surface, somebody else's dining table or the table here, I place the silk scarf down because the vibrations aren't coming into the cards through the table of somebody who may have had an argument at lunch that day. So, but if you have a board, a wooden board that you use specifically for the purpose, the difference is with wood, as an organic material, it's receptive and it holds vibrations over time. So it becomes magnetized. Now, the color of your silk. There are different ways to choose that. If you're an astrologer, you might want to select the very best planet in your chart or the very best sign in your chart. If you don't know that information, something else to do is to pick a color that makes you feel good when you see it. And usually you know what that is. It's your happy color. This is actually a light, almost spring green through teal, purple, and almost a mercurochrome pink. But these are all different silks which can be used. And it's just finding something that resonates with you.